Good morning, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Favorite Album of the Year. We have arrived at 1975. 10 years past our start date in 1965. Another stellar year for rock and prog and hard rock and jazz and folk rock and pop. All sorts of great releases in 1975. 1975 is a pretty notable time period for me because that was right around the time where I started to have the desire as a 9-year-old kid to start actually buying records. Okay, before then, I was always listening to the radio. You know, my parents had radio on everywhere we went, so I was certainly listening to stuff. My father, and my mother would both spin their favorite LPs. So, the Beatles and Engelbert Humperdinck and Barry Manilow and the Platters and lots of Spanish and Colombian music and all sorts of stuff were always going on in the house. But I started to hear like a lot of favorites on the radio and started to develop, styles and things that I really liked. So shortly thereafter is when I started going out with my, little 50 cent a week allowance and saving up for a couple months to buy a record, right? That happens shortly thereafter, but I digress as we go into a little bit of Pete Pardo history. Anyway, back to 1975. Again, as I always do, I go through the huge amount of releases that come out in each year, and I start pulling out all my favorites. And as I'm doing that, I'm like, oh, yeah, that one. Oh, yeah, that one. Oh, yeah, that one. Until I have usually it's about a list of 10. And, there were a couple real standouts this year for me. One of which was one of the first albums I ever really got into. And go back to what we talked about yesterday, how you kind of have to look at this in a certain way. If you've been listening to and loving a lot of these bands and albums since back in those times that we're talking about, you're a bit younger, so you have to kind of look at, well, which one or ones would I have picked if we kind of did this exercise back 35, 40, 45 years ago? And then we have to say, all right, so which of these albums maybe we weren't as into back in the day when they first came out, or, when we first started listening to this stuff, but have made a really big impact on your or my life, past that initial stage. So, past the teenage years and the early 20s. So we had another perfect example here. So my winner and my runner-up was really tough. I've been debating this for like 24 hours, actually a little bit longer than that, kind of figuring out which way I would go. And both of these albums I was listening to back in my younger years. One, if you would have asked me 40 years ago, 45 years ago, even 35 years ago, I definitely would have swung one way. But the one that I'm going to go with has, it's easily my favorite album from this band, not even close. And again, it's made such a huge impact on the latter part of my life. Not that my runner-up hasn't, because I still listen to it a lot, and I still love it a lot. But I really had to say, all right, so one was clearly my favorite in 1980. One is clearly probably my favorite now. How do we justify which one gets the number one spot? So I kind of looked at each one from like an artistic perspective. One's a clear winner. I had to look at it from the number of fantastic songs that are on each one. I think one just ekes it out. And then I had to look at, well, which one am I playing more today? All these years later, because I probably listened to one way more than the other, but I still have listened to what's going to be my winner a lot. And like I said, I think that my winner just over the last 25, 30 years has just been coming on so strong that, like I said, not only is it my favorite from that band, it has become one of my favorite studio albums of all time. It's definitely up there for me. So for today, my winner for 1975, my favorite release of the year, Again, a couple of you called it. A couple of you called my runner-up. A couple of you were out in left field. I actually, to be honest with you, I get more fun reading about people's comments who are trying to predict my winner for the next year than I do almost in seeing all of your picks. It's like people debating like Pete's going to pick this. I know Pete's going to pick this. So anyway, my winner for 1975, my favorite album of the year, is Physical Graffiti by Led Zeppelin. Again, congrats. You get your no prize to those couple of people who correctly predicted this one. Released February 24th, 1975. It's hard to vote against Physical Graffiti. I know some people are not as enamored with this album as I might be, or that a lot of people are, because it's a double album. There's a lot of material on here. Some people don't like all the variety that's on here. I think this perfectly personifies what Led Zeppelin was all about. All of their styles are here. You got the blues, the blistering hard rock, the folky stuff. I mean, a little bit of psychedelia, a little bit of prog. Everything's here. Everything they do is here. And then some. And granted, some of the material is stuff, the leftover that they didn't use in previous albums. But quite frankly, if you are a band that has the kind of material on this that was leftover, unused from previous albums, like Castaways, you're in pretty fucking good shape. Because, man, some stellar stuff on here. I mean, and I always think about, because I had this on vinyl, right? I used to play this to death. Think of like side one. I used to listen to all the time. Custard Pie, The Rover, In My Time of Dying. I mean, Jesus, it doesn't get much better than that. The Rover is, I think, my favorite Led Zeppelin song of all time. Custard Pie, good, funky, crisp, hard rocker. In My Time of Dying, powerful. Bonham's thunderous drums, the great, slide guitars and what have you. Then, on side two, you got Houses of the Holy. Holy moly, how did they not include that on the Houses of the Holy album, right? Okay, at least we got it. All right, Trampled Underfoot. Love that song. Love the clavinet and just the funky, heavy feel of that song. You got, of course, Kashmir. Song that I'm pretty burnt out on, but there's no doubting its greatness. Okay, side three, you got In the Light. Gorgeous. Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. I mean, John Bonham's drumming, in my opinion, we have some of his best on this album. You really see the importance of Bonzo on this album. Okay? Get Down by the Seaside, Bonjour, Night Flight, The Wanton Song. Hard rockers on side four, man. You got Boogie with Stu, cool kind of bluesy boogie thing. You got Black Country Woman, of course, Sick Again. Killer blues. A lot of good stuff on here. To me, it's just an epic album that just gets better and better with age. Totally dig it a lot. So, Pete, what's your runner-up, you might be asking? I know some of you predicted it. This was hard. This was hard because this album is like ingrained in my DNA. It's really tough when you're voting against like one of the first albums you ever got. You wanted the best and you got it. The hottest band in the world, Kiss. I really struggled with picking against this. I really did. This was when I first knew 75 was looming, I'm like, it's got to be Kiss Live, right? And then I'm like, oh shit, wait. Physical Graffiti came out in that year too. Oh no. I mean, I know we have a lot of Kiss haters that come to this channel. I get it, but you got to understand. There's a good chunk of us that just grew up on these guys, and I love the early stuff. I still love the early stuff. Call it whatever you want. You can be a hater if you want, but it's just great songs. All right, you can say they weren't great at their instruments. You can say they were all about the gimmick and all that kind of stuff. So what? The songs are great and they rock. Deuce, Strutter, Watching You, Black Diamond, Got to Choose, Hotter Than Hell, Firehouse, Nothing to Lose, Come On and Love Me, Parasite, She, Black Diamond, 100,000 Years, Rock Bottom, Cold Gin, Rock and Roll All Night, Let Me Go, Rock and Roll. I mean, it's great. Like I said, if we would have done this 30, 35, 40 years ago, there would have been no question. But for today, right now, gotta give it to Zeppelin by a hair over Kiss Alive. Physical Graffiti is my 1975 champion. In the comments below, we want to see which or which one is your favorite of 1975. Remember, there's no right or wrong answer, folks. There's a lot of good albums released in this year. This year, there is no best, only your favorites. Okay? It has nothing to do with album sales, chart positions, which one is technically better from a musical standpoint. Does not matter. It's your favorite. What are you feeling in here? In here. That's what we're going for on this show. So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Coming up momentarily, Pete's T-shirts from the T-shirt Den, Part 3. Coming right up, right? And we got Part 4, Part 5. There's 5 parts going to be in this. So for all of you who are, some of you just are not listening to what I'm saying in the videos, I did state that most of my metal shirts will be saved for the end. I get people, but Pete, where's the Judas Priest? Where's the AC/DC? Pete, you haven't shown any Iron Maiden. Guys, metal stuff is all at the end. All right, be patient. Okay, it's all coming. You're going to see everything. If you've been watching the show, I've worn so many of these shirts on the show. So if you've seen it, you've seen me wear it on an episode like this, but you haven't seen me show it on the T-shirt show, it means it's coming. All right, I don't get rid of my shirts. So at least as long as they're in one piece that I can wear or show, right, or keep. It's the ones I had in the 80s. Gone. So anyway, we'll see you guys real soon. All right, take care. Make sure to visit our website at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. We'll see you later, and we'll see you tomorrow with more from 1976. All right, so stay tuned. Take care. Bye-bye.